Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz. And our guest today is Josh Schneps, CEO and publisher of Schneps Communications.
Josh, in your position, you rub elbows with a lot of CEOs, a lot of business owners. Who are some of the people, business leaders that you look up to and why?
Well, I guess the first one would be my mother. I mean, learning from my mother has been an amazing experience. And, you know, she's still the president of our company and still very engaged and active. And, you know, I certainly have a great deal of respect for her as obviously my mother and a person. But, you know, to be able to start something from scratch and to be able to, you know, establish a business, I think is probably the toughest thing. So I certainly have learned and continue to learn from my mother a lot, and certainly someone that I have great respect for. You know, obviously there's huge media moguls out there. Mm-hmm. You know, I love to read different books about how people started their businesses. You know, obviously one that's, you know, in the media a lot is Rupert Murdoch, who owns one of the probably largest media companies in the world, but a lot of people don't realize that he started the company with basically, you know, one daily newspaper in Australia. So, you know, it's an intriguing story whether you agree with him politically or not. He definitely grew a business to great heights in an industry. And then right now there's a lot of these, you know, young tech entrepreneurs that have started these businesses and have grown huge following in very short periods of time. So I try to just take a little bit from all different people that I meet and experience.
Now, what's next for Schneps Communication? You know, are focused on print. You know, you're dabbling in the digital world with the Stars Network. What really excites you and the team?
Well, we'll be doing a lot on Long Island. Me and my mother most recently just acquired the Long Island Press. We also have been running the Bethpage Best of Long Island for the last 2 years. So, you know, for us on Long Island, we're going to be expanding LongIslandPress.com, and we're looking to do a lot more with the press brand on Long Island. So I think for us that's a big focus of ours. And then we very recently acquired Brownstoner.com, which is very large in the real estate community. We're looking to do more and more there.
Fantastic.
So a lot of work in real estate. What are the areas that you're focusing on?
Well, the events, you know, we have an event going on almost, you know, every other week. So, you know, for us, we also host a lot of different festivals, a lot of different food festivals, beer festivals. We have one coming up in Long Island City, which is a taco and beer festival. So, you know, we're just experimenting with different types of events that we're doing, both ones that are just fun for people and then other ones that are business about, you know, building their businesses. So certainly, you know, doing a lot there.
Gotcha. And the responses, I'm assuming that, you know, again, it's kind of hard to knock a taco and a beer fest.
Yeah, if you don't have a good time there, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, then you're in a lot of trouble. Tell us a little bit about the Kings and Queens, because I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. And I think some of our listeners would be very interested.
So, you know, the events, again, was started by my mother. She went to an event, and they were honoring all men. So she started the top 10 power women in business. And that event started about 16 years ago. And it just grew and grew and grew in Queens to get upwards of almost 1,000 people in attendance.
Wow.
And it was people that came out because some of these women just have never been recognized before in their lives, to the point where other people wanted to meet the women that were being honored, to people just realizing it was a great networking opportunity. And it organically grew into Brooklyn because we had a group of newspapers there. And then we started an event called the Kings of Queens, which was just honoring men. And then our Stars Under 40, which are obviously young professionals. And then we just started those slowly in Brooklyn as well. So then we had these 6 events. And then our office in Brooklyn is based in Bay Ridge, which is at the foot of the Verrazano. And we had a lot of relationships in Staten Island. So we started our Power Women in Business in Staten Island and the Kings of Staten Island event. And about 2-3 years ago, we started the Power Women in Business on Long Island and the Kings of Long Island. So those events basically bring together about 40 honorees that are from those communities or are do business in those communities or serve on a nonprofit in those communities. They're active in those communities. It could be a religious leader, a community leader. It's not just successful business people. We really try to look at it from a diverse group of business leaders, community leaders. We look at it from an ethnic background. We really want as much diversity as possible. And the beauty of it is when you recognize these 40 people, they really do business together. That's our big goal. We introduce them together. And then we do cocktail parties and smaller networking events to bring together all the past honorees from all the different areas. So people in Long Island are meeting people from Queens are meeting people from Brooklyn, people from Staten Island are meeting people from Brooklyn. So it's become just a great way of connecting people that would not have met before. And I think a lot of times when you go to these events, if you could just meet a couple of great people, it's well worth your time besides having a good time from a business perspective. So our goal with all these events is to, A, recognize great people, B, connect great people, and then 3 is for people just to be in a room with a bunch of people they've never seen before. So, for us, we're able to then promote all those people through our media outlets, and it's created a lot of synergies and just a lot of people doing business. So, they continue to grow, and we continue to create kind of new events to keep it exciting and keep it fun. And I think that's probably what differentiates a lot of our events, too. They're not boring events, that's for sure. You definitely can have a good time while meeting people.
I think so. And if you haven't attended, you should definitely try to, because when you walk away with that program in your hand of all the contacts with everyone that you've been networking with and everyone who has been honored, it really makes a difference when you step out of the event and you say, you know what, I have a connection with some of these honorees and some of the people that were in attendance. And you tell them that you attended the event, and they're really welcoming.
At the end of the day, people like to do business with people they like. And if you can meet them in an environment that's outside the office where you can connect, it's always a great way to establish relationships.
Yeah, I think I have like 4 or 5 of the programs.
I love it. I love it.
All right. You are now listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, and today our guest is Joshua Schneps, CEO and co-publisher of Schneps Communications. Now, Josh, in the media business, obviously you have a lot of competition. And you mentioned some differentiators, and I certainly think that helps. What other ways do you handle competition in the business that you're in?
I think you just learn from competitors. So, I'm the kind of person that everything that takes an ad is a competitor. And I like to keep my eyes on everything. And, I think if you could take away one good thing, that's what I like to do at a lot of these seminars that I go to. If you could just take away one thing that potentially someone said or that someone's doing, and look to improve your business in that way, then that's great. I mean, obviously, you either A, having a monopoly or B, doing something terrible if you have no competition. So I think if you're in the right field and if you're in a field that makes sense, you're always going to have competition. But, we've thrived with having competitors, and in our business, we know that that's always going to be a presence, and I don't think it's intimidating. I think it's something that keeps us on our toes, and certainly, I'm always a competitive person, grew up playing a lot of sports, and, I think competition is healthy.
Now, what's the most interesting business? Well, that may be hard to answer, but what is the most interesting business? You don't have to name names necessarily, but you can maybe go into the type of business or maybe the story that was involved. But what was the most interesting business story you've had when you visited with a business to talk with them?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if I can answer that. I would probably say my meeting with Mike Bloomberg at his company.
Okay.
And one of the things that I found amazing was that he works at a cubicle, and he's very approachable, and all of his conference rooms have no doors, meaning that they don't close doors and go behind doors for closed meetings.
No secret meetings.
No secret meetings. And for me to see someone so successful, not be in a corner office, certainly was very impactful, and I thought very interesting. And he's running the business. He's not just, there to be there. So I thought that was an interesting psychology in terms of the workplace, and certainly for someone at that level to see an open floor plan was very interesting.
That is interesting. Now, obviously, focusing on success, you can't be successful all the time. As I said, you have a 16-year ride in the business. At some point, there's going to be challenges, and a failure is a first attempt in learning, as they say. What things have you seen in the businesses you've worked with, or maybe even in your own business, that has been a first attempt in learning, a failure, but something that maybe that other businesses could learn from?
Well, I would say, when I first started working with my mom, when I started that newspaper, it was a partnership with another newspaper.
Okay.
And I learned a lot from it, and it was a great experience, but it's very difficult working with partners. I happen to be very fortunate that I work with my mother, but when you get other parties involved, without knowing the other person really intimately well and have a clear understanding of what each person's role is going to be, that can create a lot of obstacles. We ended up ending that partnership, and I think from there I told myself that I would never go into another partnership. And it wasn't anything negative. It was just a learning experience to realize that sometimes when you're an entrepreneur and you're used to making your own decisions and making your decisions quickly, and me and my mom are both kind of like outspoken people and both people that are very intimately involved with our clients, that we pull a lot of weight, and if you're going to bring on a partner, they would have to bring on as much weight, if not more. So, I think I just learned that it could be right for a lot of other people, because obviously there's many partnerships, but I think, for me as an entrepreneur, I would say that, you'd make sure to have a clear understanding of everyone's responsibilities before getting into any partnerships.
I totally agree. I think that it's just so hard, and I think we're cut from the same cloth in
right,
that
I
respect.
love it.
So partnerships are not for everyone. That being said, Josh, you do a lot on the community side. You sit on several boards you mentioned earlier today, and I think you're part of our Nassau Community College family. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you're involved here?
The Tower Foundation is something that I'm new joining and leading, and happy to be a part of it and see how I can get involved on campus here and in improving the campus and getting other people involved in Nassau Community College. And I've sit on a lot of boards that I feel benefit people, and obviously education is a huge impact on Long Island and everyone. So I'm excited to be here, and I sit on a lot of other boards where I feel it makes an impact, and I'm excited to be here.
Great. So how can our listeners connect with you, connect with Schwetz Communications, and get involved and attend your events?
Yeah, sure. So Schneps, SCHNEPS, communications.com is kind of our corporate site that shows everything that we're doing. Our business events are all available on starnetwork.com. The Long Island Press, obviously, is longislandpress.com. Best of Long Island is we have nominations open, and I would definitely tell every business it's free publicity to get involved, and literally you just go to bestofli.com and you can nominate your business. In Queens, our big site is qns.com, and the other sites that I mentioned in Brooklyn. But the business events certainly is something that I would tell everyone to get involved with, and starnetwork.com is where you could find the next one coming up.
Great.
Thank you, Josh. We'd like to thank our guest, Joshua Schneps, CEO and co-publisher of Schneps Communications. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
I'd like to leave you with one final thought, a quote from Jim Morrison. Whoever controls the media controls the mind.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill. The creative director of Tower Talk Business Radio is Rudy Breedy. This is an NCC Foundation Business Leaders Council production. Visit ncc.edu/WHPC for more information. Available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation, on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. We'll talk with you next week.